What's going on, guys? Obviously this is a different style of video. It's not a podcast like usual, but today I thought it would be a good day to actually show you one of my personal projects and actually the new studio. You guys haven't been inside the garage space yet, so I thought it might be time to give you a little tour. Follow me. This is my 2005 Mustang GT. Okay, let's go ahead and shut the door for this. Obviously this is the big main man door. In this corner, you guys will probably recognize as the podcast studio / interview area / casting couch. It's obviously not in the podcast form right now, as I've just been working out of here the last couple of days. And then to our left here, you can see the Mustang, obviously. This corner used to just be storage. It had a couple cabinets up on the wall. You can see these beams going across the wall here. They had cabinets running all the way through them. And then a little bit further to the left here, you can see I have my little workbench area. Obviously, all my tools hanging up on the wall and in these little toolboxes here. It's obviously not the biggest space or most tools. Got some stuff hiding down here, a couple impacts and fender rollers, but this is my space for now. I have never really had my own toolbox or had my own workspace until now, so this is definitely a nice upgrade to what I'm used to. This cabinet here, let me see if I can show you like a wider shot. So it goes from the podcast studio on the right. You can see the workbench in the middle, and then working towards the back of the shop, you can see I have a little storage shelf here where I keep some of my tools. I think these are some R32 Potenza Street dampeners for the rear of a R32 sedan. And then this is all my vinyl for the vinyl cutter, where I keep all my colors and stuff. Speaking of the vinyl cutter, a little bit farther to our left, you will actually see my Cameo 4, my vinyl cutter. So from workbench to the storage area to this little workspace I have cut out for myself. Obviously, you got the Dlzonwlz and the work wheels signage there, but this little corner I like to call my JDM space. Shout out to Tommy Efya and his JDM space, but this is my replicate version that I've been working on for a couple of months. Like I said, Dlzonwlz has been operating for about 6 months out of this garage, and I have basically built it from the ground up just sitting here. So yeah, my vinyl cutter, you see a couple of the stickers that I've cut out. This is our Dlzonwlz old logo, kind of, well, directly inspired by the Nismo old logo. And we are inspired by Japanese excellence around here, as you can see. Oh, and down here. Inspired by Japanese excellence. That would be our motto for the year. Anyways, so in our Japanese or JDM space over here in the corner, obviously the shelving, I just have all my knickknacks and things that I have collected over the years. These are obviously our air fresheners that we sell on the website. Some of my model and die-cast cars that I have sitting up here. And if you'll actually notice these taillights sitting in the shelf, these are actually the aftermarket taillights that Samet pulled out of his S15 when he first got it to get it to actually pass inspection. He had to throw some stock S15 taillights in it while I was over there, and he actually gave me these to take home, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I got knickknacks and stickers and pretty much just shit all piled all over the place over here in this corner. And then I keep some of my inventory in the back here. This is some of my camping and tent supplies for when we go to events and stuff and we're setting up booths and tables. This little setup I got right here is where I keep the sponsored drivers packs with our sponsored drivers collection, like the pins and the stickers and air fresheners in them. So that's where I keep all my inventory. This little cart has all my wrap supplies on it, so when we're wrapping cars and when we are working on vinyl stuff, you can see I got my little heat gun hanging from the back here, but then I got my alcohol in the bottle and then my rapid tack in that bottle, so anytime we're wrapping, I just basically pull that card out and we can use it for whatever. You can see I have some wheels over in this corner, just some more basic storage. I got my helmets for when we're racing, and then this is my bike, my vintage Raleigh 10-speed road bike that I ride everywhere. But yeah, it's not too big. Obviously the shop space is about I'd say a 4-car garage normally, but obviously it works when you have one car in the middle just sitting on the lift. You can have plenty of space to work on it. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one of these lifts before, but this is the Quick Jack 5000. It's rated to up to 5,000 pounds, and it's just ran by this little pump over here with some ATF and this little motor attached to it. And I basically just push this button to go up and down, and I can lift the car up whenever I want. This is my baby. This is my 05 Mustang GT. We got it in 2019, I believe. It was set up as a kind of like a drag car that could also do a little bit of autocross. We got it with the intentions of building it into a road car, meaning we would do road racing and high-speed events, and then a little bit of autocross. Mostly what I drove when this car was up and functioning the last couple of years was autocross with the Sports Car Club of America, the SCCA, as you can see here. But I did kind of their Pro Solo series, which was just autocross events timed by yourself out on track. This car did very well. It was definitely built and is definitely very capable of autocross and road racing. But I think eventually this season I may convert it into a full-on drift car. As you can see, it's been pretty much gone through and gutted from tip to tail. There's not a whole lot still left underneath it. Usually there's some metal down here for your spare tire compartment, but that's all been cut out. You can see we've got all of the suspension bracing and basically every aftermarket arm you can get for the back of this thing, as well as some upgraded sway bars and basically everything sold by Cortex to stiffen up the rear end of this thing, as well as the diff brace. You can see that goes from the diff itself all the way to the front of the chassis. As well as we got some Borla exhaust back here, a couple big old cans, give this thing a nice meaty roar. We got our battery box located in the rear, as you can see, kind of jumping around going from back to front here, but you can also see we have a fire suppression system that has not yet been set up, but eventually we will set that up. It's been mounted and everything, we just haven't ran the lines. Then we have this rear strut bar. The back is pretty much stock, besides the trunk is removable with these hood pins, as you can see. Also, fuck takeovers, take it to the track. Another sticker there. But obviously this thing has a livery on it that we threw on just for the year. We put it on, I think, for the Ridge event. Actually, that was one of my first drift events that we did in this thing, was the Ridge Lone Star Drift event that Aaron Losey hosted out in Bremerton. You can see we got the Brembo, the Dlzonwlz, number 55. My grandpa Joe was number 55, actually. Joe Gould, you can see Gould Racing on there. We also got the Ford Performance, the Anki, the Borla stickers on the livery, because obviously they're all a part of the car. Oh, and we actually missed Exity down here. This thing does have a stage 4 Exity racing clutch in it, capable of I think 500 or 600 horsepower. We replaced that last year, has never given us any issues. But we have the Anki sticker because we have the Anki PF01s. These were our road racing tire and wheel setup. On the rear we have the the Toyo Proxy R888Rs in a 315/30/18. So basically as much rubber as we could fit under this thing without cutting the corner panels up. But actually I have one sitting over here. This is a front. That's a 295, which is still a big ass tire. And then this is a 315, which is some meat. Obviously I took the wheels off of this side of the car so we can get a little bit better look at some of the suspension components. You can see we got the track or the panhard bar there, and then you can't really see too much except for the dual caliper setup that we have on the back of this thing. You can tell that this thing has been kind of touched to be able to slide around as well, because it does have a dual caliper setup on it, which is 2 brake calipers, which are on independent systems in the rear here. This caliper actually is solely on a hand brake that I have mounted on the trans tunnel in here. So when I pull this handle, it will lock up this caliper here. This one is still hooked up to my foot brake, so whenever I am stopping, it sends the brake fluid obviously to the back to be able to stop the car. We've got some drilled and slotted rotors on the back of the car here. Pretty happy with the rear brake setup on this thing. The front brake setup we did upgrade as well. You can obviously tell the size difference. This is my hand compared to the front brake rotor. I don't know how much you're going to be able to tell, but this is the rear brake rotor, almost the same size. This is much larger. I think it's either the 13 or the 14-inch Brembo front brake kit, the BBK, big brake kit, that Ford sells for this thing. We replaced this last year. It's got the Brembo big 4-pot, big caliper on there, with some ducting that we've run. Let's see. There's actually a vent in the front bumper through here that actually runs all the way through this tube and goes into a brake duct system that we have run straight to the caliper itself to keep it cool. We also have obviously front and rear coilovers on this. They are 32-way adjustable JRI suspension coilovers. I think that's what they're called. But they've never let us down. They were a pretty penny. Oh yeah, you can see here. JRI. I don't know if you can read that. But they are fantastic coilovers. Definitely a pretty penny, but worth every penny. Let's see what else we got here. I think we got the ARP extended studs all the way around, just so we can fit obviously bigger wheels with nicer lug nuts onto the hub here. I don't know. Oh, let's get under the car, I guess. I'm not sure how much you can see, if this is really well lit up, but as you can see, we have aftermarket beefed up outer tie rods and inner tie rods that hook up to our aftermarket steering rack. This is actually a steering rack out of a 2015 Mustang GT that we had retrofitted into my 05 Mustang GT to give it electric steering. Most cars have power steering powered by a serpentine belt that runs off the engine. This one is actually fully electric, so it's 12 volt powered. So we plug it in like any other electric accessory in the car. We also have a fully tubular aftermarket K-member. I believe that's sold by Cortex. Most of the suspension pieces that we have under this thing are sold by Cortex, which is like a drag racing / road racing brand. I think eventually we may move this thing over to a different setup for drifting, but I don't know. It's been working so far for us. But yeah, you can see the oil pan under here. But yeah, we got the aftermarket steering rack, aftermarket K-member. You can't really see the motor, but the motor is the 3-valve 4.6 liter V8 that comes in all of the Mustang GTs of this year. The 4.6 liter also came in obviously like the Crown Vics and the Grand Marquis and all the big 4-door sedans. But this 4.6 liter has obviously been touched a little bit. It's got the Ford Racing aftermarket throttle body attached to the Ford Racing aftermarket intake high raise manifold. Sorry, that's kind of a tongue twister. But this is an aftermarket intake manifold sold by Ford Racing just to get it a little bit more air, give it a little bit more power. It's also got some BBK long tube headers hiding down there that you can't really see. So we're able to suck air in, blow air out. And then we got the Excel smart coils down here, so we're able to light that extra air that we got coming in. This thing hasn't been tuned. We got it on the dyno one time, but we had to actually get off the dyno after one run. So it's not tuned. We don't really know what horsepower it makes yet. Eventually we will get it on the dyno and make some horsepower, but we also have the JLT intake box here with the full box that actually keeps it cold. So when the hood's on, the only thing that is pretty much leading air into the engine is this filter and a hole from the fender well. You can also see we have an aftermarket radiator for the car. It's a Mishimoto radiator. It's a couple years old. We'll eventually upgrade that as well with a Moroso expansion tank. This thing never really overheats. It sometimes gets a little warm when we're beating on it with the hood on, but obviously the hood is detachable. It's fully fiberglass, so it only weighs a couple pounds. It's got 4 hood pins. Obviously it's got the ones in the front and then this style in the rear. But we usually just pop the hood off since it looks good anyway. And we have a front bash bar, which is actually underneath the front bumper here, that I forget what brand makes it, but it's actually a bolt-on bash bar that's sold by some company. You can actually see my first damage that I ever did to this car here. I spun out at Spirit Peaks, and E36 or E46, I believe, hit me. But it's all right. It was raining. No one was at fault. We shook hands in the pits afterwards. But we also have the APR Racing front splitter. You can see it's carbon fiber. It's got the cool rods there. Not cool rods. Obviously, they do something. Most people attach their what are they called? Splitters to a plastic bumper. These are actually mounted to the bash bar that's under the bumper there. But yeah, that's probably it for the front. Obviously, I went over the brakes and the suspension up front. We also have a strut bar up front here. I believe this might be mounted backwards because it's got a little bit of a weird tilt to it. So maybe I'll swap that around tomorrow. But obviously, it works just the same. You can see the JRI dampener for the coilover on top there. I tried to wrinkle coat or tried to paint the valve covers wrinkle black with the Jimmy O special, but obviously this motor gets a little bit warm for that. All of the glass from the car has been removed as well, so that is plexiglass, and this is plexiglass. So there is no weight left in this car. There's no glass in the doors either. This has just been replaced with plastic. As far as the interior is concerned, most of it has been removed. There's no dashboard, there's no carpet, there's no, obviously, radio or any of that shit up front. All of the amenities basically have been taken out and replaced with either nothing, or in the back here you can see that we have a 4-point roll cage that's tied into the chassis pretty well. Actually, you can see the mounts down here. But obviously we have the 5-point harnesses on both sides. My driver's one is a G-Force racing gear harness with the cam buckle. I really like the cam buckle design because if there's ever a fire or anything, it's just about the easiest way to get out. This is a little bit older design from Simpson, which is still a 5-point harness, but it's got like the latch style, which is a little bit harder to work with, but obviously is just fine. Here's a little bit better view of the cage back here. Maybe I'll get a light for you guys, but you can see it. We also have some padding back here, little delete kit for the back seat, so it looks a little bit better. But obviously we have an aftermarket steering wheel in here as well. It's nothing fancy, just I think we got it off Jags, and then we got an NRG quick release on there. Let me actually pop this guy off. Woohoo, never done that one-handed, but obviously quick release steering wheel with our signature Dlzonwlz horn button in there. If you are interested in grabbing one of these horn buttons, check the link down below and shop on Dlzonwlz.com. Obviously, we are anti-takeovers over at this establishment, so we got that guy on the B pillar there. But yeah, this is the Mustang. I'm not sure what else I can say about it. Obviously, it's got basically about every single suspension modification you can do to a Mustang. It's got more grip than God. It's got everything taken out of it that we don't really need. Obviously, I went over the dual caliper setup. Yeah, I think... Let me turn the camera around here. I do hope you guys really enjoyed this type of content where I sit down and talk about some of the projects I'm working on. This is the only drift car / project car I really have right now, so I'm going to go through and try to make it as clean as possible for the upcoming season. Not that it's already not drift season, but I don't have the money for that, so I'm going to sit in the garage, try to work as much as I can, make as much content and as much merchandise for you guys as I can, and do what I can to stay ahead. If you have any questions about the Mustang or want me to do a full 1-hour podcast build breakdown on this thing, I'm definitely willing to do that. Definitely just leave all of your suggestions down in the comments below. If you are not subscribed to the channel, I definitely recommend that you do so. It definitely helps me out, definitely helps with some views, and definitely check us out on social medias at Dlzonwlz. basically on every social media there is. Again, I'm your host, Carter Farthing, and I will probably see you guys again this week for another podcast interview with a couple more drifters from the Pacific Northwest. So yeah, that's probably it. We'll see you on the next one.
I close my eyes and I see dreams of gold.